Demand for more steam engines meant demand for more iron and more coke. As coke was produced, waste gas was generated. Over time, technology made this flammable coal gas a source of light.
Well, Britain in the early 1800s, before gas lighting came along, was a very dark place indeed. The big breakthrough, of course, was coal gas in the early 1800s, and it suddenly lit up the street. Gas lighting brought about a revolutionary change, really, in nighttime in Britain.
Coal gas began to light up streets and factories. The first gas companies were established in London in 1807 and in Baltimore, Maryland in 1816. By the late 1800s, nearly every city had its own coal gas manufacturing plant.
These were pretty much one gas plant at a time for each city or each urban area because they couldn't distribute their gas very far. It was quite, I think, an honor to have one because it was showing some advancement of the city.
Although coal gas was originally used only for street lighting, technology now brought coal gas into urban homes too.
The gas manufacturers tried to find other markets, and in particular they found lighting and cooking in homes to be of value. Both businesses and homes, in fact, saw that value. The market and the ability to get the gas from the plant to the end users was how town gas set the stage for natural gas.
Better than candles and more convenient than the coal stove, coal gas contained toxic gases that could be a problem inside the home.
Town gas is actually a mixture of carbon monoxide, hydrogen, and methane, and it also contains some amounts of carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen cyanide, and nitrogen. New technology developments come with a cost and a benefit. I mean, if you think about it, town gas brought safer streets because they were lit. It brought quality of life improvements to homes for cooking and lighting. And it brought jobs to the local community. At the same time, it did cause odors. It did result in these discharges to the waterways. Things that the public would react to and file nuisance suits. The industry was being regulated through the states and localities based on these nuisance complaints. There really weren't federal environmental regulations.
Nuisance suits spurred research. What had been waste became the source of valuable products.
The major byproduct called coal tar is substitutes for paints to make a water-repellent felt roof. They were used for waterproofing ship bottoms, waterproof fabrics, and they were used to pave roads. The British found out that certain components of tar, in particular something like a compound called aniline, could be used to make dye. And the tar became a really valuable byproduct and actually became the beginning of an industry essentially in the 1880s. This provided numerous types of chemicals to make things from drugs to disinfectants to perfumes to explosives. Creosote is in fact a fraction of coal tar. Creosote is used extensively for electric poles and railroad ties. There are still wood treaters today that treat their wood using some creosote.
As electricity was competing with coal gas technology for in-home lighting, a new primary energy source began replacing coal gas across America. High-pressure pipelines installed during World War II made long-distance transport of natural gas possible.
A network of pipelines provided that natural gas all around the country. And when the gas plants would finally be displaced depended on how far it was from the natural gas. So in effect, it moved from west to the east as natural gas got piped to those areas. The manufactured gas or town gas was displaced.
Natural gas contained more energy and burned cleaner than the gas manufactured from coal.
You have to actually use less to get as much energy. And so in effect, as this higher value gas became available, it made the manufactured gas less desirable.
In just 50 years, global consumption of coal had more than doubled. But in the face of growing demand, technical innovations brought large-scale hydroelectric, oil, and natural gas into the energy marketplace. Plentiful energy, consumer choice, and rising standard of living were bringing new perspectives to the industrialized world.
In the United States, we used these energy sources. We developed this technology. We developed our economy. And then we started to really develop an environmental consciousness as well. And we started to look at what are the environmental effects of this rapidly developing economy and technology system.
We had Earth Day, which was April 1970, and the US EPA was created. And with that creation, there became an entire rash of regulations, federal regulations, like the Clean Air Act of 1970, the Clean Water Act of 1972.
Other regulations addressed environmental concerns at industrial sites that were no longer in use. Town gas sites were a special challenge addressed with the Superfund Act of 1980.
It was the one act that would apply to gas plants, not their operation, but the fact that they left historical impacts to a site. And so it was the Superfund process that originally highlighted manufactured gas plants as being sites of interest for remediation. Very few of these plants presented imminent hazards. Remediations were required. They were usually done in a voluntary action by the company working with the state. And they wanted to put these properties back into productive service. And typically what you found is that there were these solid residuals, the ashes and the clinkers and the tars, and they typically would have to be removed and disposed of off-site. You would do groundwater treatments and remediations. And in the end, most of these sites have been able to be put back either into industrial service for residential use as well.